All right, welcome to the show, y'all. We got a lot to get to today. So in just a second, Trump's tariffs are completely destroying his presidency. The wheels are beginning to come off. So I have some new numbers for you. The American public has totally turned on the idea of tariffs. Then we'll get to Trump taking a couple major losses in federal court. We'll dive into that. We also have some of the D-tier MAGA hosts are now outraged that the left was having fun on Twitter and we thought Trump was dead for a while, or at least dying. Can't wait to show you that because the hypocrisy meter is absolutely shattering with how they're clutching their pearls and falling on their fainting couches. So we'll talk about that. Then the American dream is completely dead. We have some new numbers on that front. And this is a fascinating story. There are riots that are now erupting in the Philippines because politicians were robbing flood prevention money to like build dams and whatnot. They were stealing that money and getting like luxury cars and getting rich, as now the Philippines is basically like drowning and underwater, and like almost all of the funds that were spent to try to prevent the flooding have been like totally stolen by the wealthy. So a lot to say about that one. You guys know the drill. Everybody please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps out massively and costs you nothing. It helps spread these videos around the YouTube algorithm, which helps the show grow. Thank you to everybody who supports this show on Patreon. Even if you just give $2 a month, that makes a big difference. $5 a month, $7 a month if you want to go wild. Because remember, this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read, never talked to a billionaire or a PAC or anything like that. This is truly grassroots media. You guys fund it, and we have the default ads on YouTube. And so we like keeping this show independent, and you know, it's truly independent. Very few out there are like that. So thank you again for all the support. And you can also support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below as well. We have Taylor Lorenz coming on this week to talk about her controversial article on dark money, a dark money group, which is basically tied to Democratic media and online influencers. And also go subscribe to the Corn's World YouTube channel because we do live Kyle and Corn episodes over there. We try to do it every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. All right, let's go ahead and jump in, y'all. So guess what? Americans now absolutely despise tariffs. Why? Because they got a little tasting tin and they went, ugh, what is this? So here we have Harry Enton laying it out for us. Watch this.
And I will note, it was not just the base, it was the overall American public, and they have turned against tariffs the same way college football pundits have turned against Arch Manning after his performance in Columbus on Saturday. Look at this. New tariffs on imported goods. You go back to November of 2024, look, the popular position was favor. They favored new tariffs on imported goods, 52%, 48% opposed. You go to this side of the ledger.
So they were +4. The American public in November 2024 was +4, which, by the way, there's a lesson here. You can move poll numbers if you make an argument, if you're aggressive, if you're sure of yourself. I mean, this is what Trump did. Trump pretended very, very hard like tariffs are great and they're going to fix everything, and he made it a 52-48 issue. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Imagine a Democratic Party that actually fights on positions that are already popular, but you can make them like 90% issues if you really leaned in and made some arguments. It truly is incredible. So tariffs were +4, and now they're -20. That is a huge swing.
Look at that. The opposition up like a rocket. We're talking about 60% opposing new tariffs compared to just 40% in favor. So it was majority favor back when Trump was reelected in November of 2024. Now it's a clear 3 in 5 Americans oppose it. The Americans have gotten a taste of the tariffs and they spit it right out.
So is the taste paying more? I mean, because that's how economists have always described this, as actually a tax on consumers.
Yes, exactly. Why is the opposition up like a rocket? Well, it all comes down to money out of the pocketbook, right? Impact of tariffs on prices. Look at this in the short term. 77% of Americans now agree they raise prices in the short term. Look at this itty bitty number at the bottom. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. When you can fact count it on your own hand, you know it's a small percentage. Just 4% of Americans believe that in the short term, tariffs decrease prices. Long term, look, this has long been the Donald Trump.
So 4% of the American public has the IQ of a potato. Because literally prices are increasing. So that number should be 100%.
Argument, right? That even if their short-term pain in the long term will pay off. Not according to Americans. Impact of tariffs on prices, even over the long term. Look at that. 50% say increase. Just 25%, just half the level, say decrease. And while 25% in this particular case is better than 4%, 25% is way less than 50% of Americans who say that, in fact, prices will increase over the long term because of tariffs.
Can you do me a favor and go find who the 4% are?
I will go ahead. I will do some
on
on the street
reporting.
I'm sure I can go out to Times Square and see what I can find out there.
Okay, but in all seriousness, from the tariff policy to the trade policy, how is it impacting Trump's overall approval?
Right, okay. If this was happening in a bubble, right, and it was, okay, I don't like tariffs, but it isn't impacting my overall view of Trump, I think Trump would be like, forget about it, doesn't matter. But this is why the political implications are so important, because Fox News literally asks, what's the top reason that Trump's doing a bad job? What ranks as number one? The economy, and tariffs ranks as number one. The number one reason why those who disapprove of Trump think he's doing a bad job, it comes right back to tariffs. The bottom line is this: when prices go up, presidential approval ratings go down, and that's exactly what we are seeing in the polling
Perhaps
data.
this was the deflection that Ron Brownstein was talking about in a segment in the last hour about the increase in these ICE raids, because they're deflecting from something the president is not happy about.
That's often something that Donald Trump will do, is if he sees something he doesn't like, he's going to go in the other direction and try and bring the American mindset with him.
All right. Harry Anton, good to be with you.
Yeah, and Epstein too, right? He's distracted from Epstein. He's distracted. Everything he does is bad. So, he could do some new bad thing to try to distract from the 17 other bad things, but it's still going to be bad, right? So, now, by the way, the overall polling number, the overall approval rating for Trump, one poll had him at 37%, recent poll. Another one had him at 38%. On the issue of the economy specifically, 38% approval rating. So in other words, this stuff is starting to wear on him. It's kind of crazy because even if, let's say for argument's sake, let's say the economy right now is doing great. And unemployment is going down, prices are going down a little bit, and everybody's happy, everybody's getting jobs or whatever, their wages are going up, whatever. Even in that scenario, he should still be an unpopular president because what he's doing is insane. He set up concentration camps and he's rounding up innocent people and sending them there. He's bombing random countries on a daily fucking basis, right? So even if the economy was good, he should still be unpopular. But no, the reality is the economy and the bread and butter issues, the kitchen table issues, they reign supreme. So that in and of itself, I think even if you drop all of the other craziness, alligator Auschwitz and fucking, you name it, the CCOT, drop all of that, pretend he didn't do any of that, I think he'd still be massively underwater. Maybe not at 37, 38%, but still like 42, because this is the thing that really matters. This, you could argue, is the real thing that helped sink Biden. I mean, yes, of course, it's in part that his cognitive abilities were seemingly failing him. He was getting really old and visibly old, but this right here, I think this is the bigger thing, that under him, the prices were going up a little bit, and people just fucking revolt when that happens. Right? And now it's happening under Trump, and there's nothing he can do to stop the backslide. So, well, there is something. He could end the fucking trade war he's waging on all of our allies, but he's a dipshit, and he won't do that. So now let me show you this. Trump's economy has a frozen job market. The hiring rate in the U.S. is just 3.3%. That's the lowest level since 2013. So because of the uncertainty in the marketplace, because of the tariffs, now the hiring rate is just absolutely bottoming out. All right, more. It's official. The U.S. now has more unemployed people than job openings for the first time since April 2021. And what was going on then? A global pandemic. In July, the U.S. had 7.18 million job openings and 7.24 million unemployed people. Now, by the way, let me also say, that's like an underestimate. They're not using the U6 unemployment rate here. The official unemployment rate is always lower than the actual unemployment rate. It's about how you count it, and the real rate is probably double. It's probably like, it's probably double what the official rate is the actual unemployment rate. So anyway, that's not good. That's not good. In fact, Trump's, I forget which story we learned this in, but apparently Trump's decisions for the economy have been worse than the global pandemic, at least in certain metrics, which is wild. If you think, like, one man fucking everything up worse than a global pandemic where millions of people died. All right, now let's go to this. So this is from August 13th, but it really paints the picture as to what people are dealing with now and why people are so drastically turning on Trump. Here's some of the specifics of the inflation that we're dealing with.
Good morning, Michael. Yes, let me break down these numbers for you. Inflation overall up 2.7%. The big reason there, not coffee, but shelter prices. The cost of...
Okay. Inflation up 2.7, shelter up 3.7, which, by the way, shelter is already, like, housing prices are absolutely colossal. Rent is too damn high, right? Medical care up nearly 5%. Used cars and trucks up 5%. Airfare up 4%. People can't afford this shit.
Housing still remains higher than a year ago and significantly higher, as well as medical costs, used car and truck prices, and airfares. But then you come to this coffee question. Prices up 14.5% from a year ago. Ground beef prices, incidentally, also up double digits from a year ago.
Damn. Ground beef up nearly 12%, coffee up nearly 15%. And that's only going to go up. Why? Because Trump gratuitously slapped a 50% tariff on coffee from Brazil. 50%. And why is he doing it? Purely to protect his fellow fascist coup plotter, Jair Bolsonaro, who was the previous president who tried to steal the election. They had their own January 6th in Brazil, if you don't remember. But thankfully, the justice system there takes traitors more serious, right? So he's actually facing consequences, whereas Trump didn't face dick. But this is what we got now, bro. And this is just the beginning. We're just getting started. Unemployment's going up. Inflation's going up. The economy is a total fucking house of cards, right? Me and Crystal talk about it all the time. We'll be in some random place and we'll be, oh, that's a nice house. I wonder how much that cost. And you look it up. It's like a $1.4 million house. But it looks like a regular house. It looks like a house that a middle-class person should be able to afford. It's like, oh, that's $1.4 million. The economic collapse is coming. Why? Because how do we, like, every house you look at is like at least $700,000. Who can afford that shit? Who can afford it? The entire generation I'm part of is working fucking gig economy jobs. They're Uber Eats drivers. And the girls are on OnlyFans, right? Who can afford this shit? What is it, a boomer's third house? Is that what's happening? And so it's all catching up. It's all catching up. So everybody buckle up, because when the rug gets pulled out from underneath us, oh boy, is it gonna get ugly real quick. So and there no hope of a steady hand leading us out of it either. And you get the sense, even when the bottom does fall out from underneath us, they're gonna pretend it's not happening. Because that's what they do. They're already trying to rig the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers. Trump fired a person who gave him accurate information and wants to bring in somebody who's gonna lie to make him look good. So however fucked you think we are so much more fucked than that. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.